what motivates me to bring common sense back to New York and to preserve, to fight for the citizens, to put New Yorkers back in first place with regards to consideration by the legislature, who has gone rogue and forgotten why they're in place, why they have been put in position. That's really it. To fight for families, to be a fierce advocate for children, to turn off the faucet that has been turned on, that has led to out of control spending in New York, to get crime back under control, because bail reform is a failed legislation and it's not working, and it's actually, which is something I would need to break down a little bit further, but, and what I stated at my debate is that some of the legislation is actually, it's actually racist in its form, and that is something that I don't say all the time, because I'm not one to propagate and continue to push the narrative of racism. But when you pass legislation in the under the guise of fighting discrimination, but then you create this blanket slate and this system of unaccountability, you send the wrong message to the minds of people and young people. And so what you're doing in essence is you are creating helping to create a whole generation of criminals by sending the wrong message to their minds that they could do anything and not be held accountable. And so in essence, it is racist in the respect that you don't think that Blacks and Latinos teach their children accountability, or you don't think that poor people teach their children accountability. That doesn't make any sense. Right. And so there are a number of reasons for me running for...
Are you talking about Proposition 1, or what laws are you talking about?
I'm talking about bail reform, Castro's bail, raise the age. I'm talking about Proposition 1 that needs to go. I'm talking about the $5.1 billion that was sent to New York City, for the migrant issue. I'm talking about the $2.4 billion that's slated to go to New York City in the budget alone this year. I'm talking about the possibility of creating a constitutional right for illegal migrant immigrants. I mean, it's just a slew of things. There's so many things to deal with. And then I'm at a small internet fundraiser last night, and I was approached by someone else, another constituent, talking about another situation with finance in New York and another angle, something to look at that really needs to be addressed. So there's so many things that have gone on. You know, our crumbling infrastructure, the cost of living is out of control. The cost of rent is out of control in New York. Inflation is out of control. So you name it. Education in a number of districts are failing our children, right? So it's just so much that's going on, and clearly the legislature has gone rogue. The one-party rule is not working because they're not having conversation. The conversations that they should be. They're not representing the people, and they're giving false information. And Proposition 1 is the most insidious piece of legislation that I've seen in a long time. I thought COVID was the worst the biggest Trojan horse experiment that I've ever seen. But I think Proposition 1, it's either right up there, they're running neck and neck, or it's probably worse. I'm not even sure at this point.
What about, I guess, is there still a supermajority in the Assembly?
Yes, there's still a supermajority. Yep, absolutely.
So even in the Senate?
Even in the Senate, yep.
So how would it feel? I mean, like, why is it important to you knowing, like, if you get in, there's probably going to still be a majority or even a supermajority? Hopefully not. But, you know, what would you do, I guess?
You need one seat you need one seat to stop the supermajority, and you need 11
in the Senate.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you get in, then it will stop the supermajority.
Absolutely, and it will force them to have conversation. Absolutely.
Okay. And why do you think one-party rule is so dangerous in New York?
Because there's no checks and balances. They've demonstrated, the Democrats have demonstrated why it's dangerous. They're not having any conversation. I was in Albany a few times earlier this year and last year, and I went on the assembly floor, and the entire side was empty. I think there's probably 10 assembly men and women that were in session. There was session going on, but there was no one there because of the new system whereby if you want to vote no against a proposed bill, you have to be in session. But if you're not there, then it's automatically deemed that it's passing, and it just passes. That's what we're paying our legislators for. They're right. All trapping and up and down, tracing themselves around New York wherever they were, or out of the country. I don't know where they were. And we're paying them all this money, and they're not in session discussing anything. They're not talking to the Republican legislators. It doesn't make any sense. They're not talking. They're not having conversations. They're just passing legislation. They violated the procedure for getting Prop 1 on the ballot for this election cycle. So it just demonstrates and it shows the party that keeps saying that the Republicans are going to destroy democracy, are violating every democratic principle we have to pass their bills, get their laws pushed, and to get their candidates in office, which is seen from the local level to the national.